I thought I was doing a favor for a friend, but instead, I was accused of being unsafe. Now, my best friend is mad at me. Life has a funny way of throwing unexpected curveballs at you, doesn't it? One moment, you're just hanging out with friends, enjoying a carefree day, and the next, you find yourself in a tangled web of misunderstandings and accusations. Let me take you back to that day and unfold everything that happened. It all started on a typical Saturday afternoon. Joe, my childhood friend, had organized a get together. We planned to catch a movie and then hit the bowling alley, a classic way to unwind and catch up with each other. Joe, Sandra, and I have been doing this for years. Sandra is a mutual friend, someone I've grown comfortable with over time through Joe. But this time, Sandra decided to invite her friend Amy along. I'd never met Amy before, but I thought, why not? The more, the merrier. As the afternoon rolled into evening, we were having a good time. The movie was fun, and the bowling alley was lively with laughter and the sound of pins crashing. We were just a group of friends enjoying each other's company, and for a while, everything seemed perfectly normal. When it was time to head home, Sandra asked if I could drive Amy back. I didn't think twice about it. I was the designated driver after all. Living in a rural area an hour north of them, I was used to long drives, and it made sense logistically to drop each person off on the way. The plan was straightforward: Joe, then Sandra, and finally Amy before I headed home. It seemed efficient, logical, and frankly, considerate. But as we drove on, there was an odd silence in the car, punctuated by the occasional soft sound of texting. I could sense a shift in the atmosphere. You know that feeling when you just know people are talking about you, even if they're not saying a word? That's what I felt. Sandra and Amy were sharing whispers, and as the driver, I was left out of their quiet conversation. Then, out of the blue, Sandra pointed out that I'd made a wrong turn. Amy's house was apparently in the opposite direction. The suggestion was jarring, and I was taken aback. I explained my reasoning. It seemed logical to me to drop Sandra off first and then Amy. That's when Amy finally spoke up. Her voice was calm but firm, and she made it clear she wasn't comfortable being alone in the car with me. Her reason? Simply because I was a man she didn't know well. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I was accused, albeit subtly, of being a potential threat just because of my gender. It was an accusation wrapped in a request, and it left me reeling. I tried to process what she was saying, but it was hard not to take it personally. She wanted me to drive her home before Sandra, which meant going out of my way and extending my already lengthy drive. I was stuck. On one hand, I didn't want Amy to feel uncomfortable, but, on the other hand, I couldn't help but feel unfairly judged. It was a dilemma that forced me to weigh my own inconvenience against her sense of safety. The car ride grew tense, the air heavy with unspoken discomfort. Amy and Sandra kept urging me to just go along with it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they were asking too much. I tried to keep my tone light, but inside I was boiling. I couldn't help but think, why did they wait until I was driving to bring this up? Did they think I was just going to nod along and add another 20 minutes to my drive without any consideration? It felt like an ambush. When we reached Sandra's place, Amy got out of the car with a huff and slammed the door behind her. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. I watched her walk away, feeling a mix of anger and frustration bubbling up inside. I sat there for a moment, trying to collect my thoughts before heading home. The next day, Joe called. He'd heard about the whole ordeal and wanted to know my side of the story. As I recounted the events, I could hear the disappointment in his voice. He thought I should have just gone along with Amy's request. It stung to hear that from him, my best friend, someone who knew me better than anyone else. I tried to explain my side, how it felt to be unfairly labeled, but Joe didn't really seem to understand. After the call ended, I was left alone with my thoughts. I kept replaying the night over and over in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. But no matter how I looked at it, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being unfairly judged. I wasn't angry at Amy for feeling the way she did. Everyone has the right to feel safe, but I was frustrated with the way the situation was handled. I found myself reflecting on how often we make snap judgments about people based on surface level details, things like gender or appearance. It's something that can't be ignored, but at the same time, it's important to recognize the impact those judgments can have on the person being judged. It was a tough lesson in empathy and understanding, one that forced me to take a hard look at my own assumptions. In the days that followed, I tried to reach out to Joe again, hoping to clear the air. I wanted him to understand that I wasn't dismissing Amy's feelings. I was just grappling with the unexpected situation I found myself in. Joe listened, and while I could tell he was still a bit disappointed, he appreciated my honesty. As for Sandra and Amy, I haven't heard from them since. I'm not sure if I ever will, but I hope that if I do, we can have an open and honest conversation about what happened. I've learned that communication is key, and assumptions can easily lead to misunderstandings. So, was I the asshole in this situation? Maybe, maybe not. But what I do know is that it was a moment that taught me a lot about perception, assumptions, and the importance of open dialogue. And in the end, that's what I'll carry forward with me. In the days that followed, I couldn't quite shake off the lingering tension from that night. Every time I thought about the events that unfolded, a wave of mixed emotions washed over me: confusion, frustration, and a touch of introspective clarity. It was as if a part of me was stuck back in that car, grappling with the awkward silence and the unspoken judgments that had hung in the air like a dense fog. I spent a lot of time thinking about Amy's perspective. I tried to put myself in her shoes, imagining what it must be like to feel uncomfortable and potentially unsafe. It's not something I've had to deal with often, but I realized that her concerns, whether I agreed with them or not, were valid in her mind. She didn't know me, and in her eyes, that lack of familiarity might have been enough to trigger alarm bells. It was a sobering reminder that everyone's experience in this world is different, and fears are often rooted in experiences I might never fully understand. But I also couldn't help but feel a little indignant. The assumption that I was a threat purely based on my gender felt like a slap across the face, a preemptive judgment that didn't seem fair. I was raised to respect everyone and have never given anyone a reason to feel unsafe around me. Yet, here I was being painted with a broad brush, and it stung deeply. To cope with these conflicting feelings, I started journaling, just jotting down my thoughts and emotions in an attempt to make sense of them. Writing has always been a way for me to process complex emotions, and this situation was no different. As I wrote, I found myself exploring not just the incident with Amy, but also how I wanted to handle similar situations in the future. It became clear that while I couldn't control how others perceived me, I could control how I responded to those perceptions. One evening, I took a long walk through the woods near my home, a place where I could think without distractions. The crisp air and the rustle of leaves underfoot provided a calming backdrop to my internal musings. As I walked, I realized that part of growing up is learning to navigate these uncomfortable situations with grace and understanding. It's about recognizing that while I might not agree with someone's perception, I can still respect it and strive to find common ground. Meanwhile, the dynamic with Joe was still on my mind. Our friendship had always been a source of stability for me, and the idea of losing that over a misunderstanding seemed unbearable. So, I decided to give him a call. I wanted to talk things through to ensure that our friendship wouldn't suffer because of what happened. When Joe picked up, there was an awkward pause before either of us spoke. I could sense that he was still processing everything just like I was. But as we started talking, the initial tension eased. I explained that I understood his perspective, but I also needed him to see mine. We talked about the importance of balancing empathy with personal boundaries and how difficult it can be to find that equilibrium. Joe listened, really listened, and for that, I was grateful. By the end of the conversation, I felt a renewed sense of connection with him. We both agreed that the situation was a learning experience, one that highlighted the importance of communication and understanding. As for Amy and Sandra, they remained distant. I thought about reaching out, maybe sending a message to clear the air, but I hesitated. There was a part of me that wanted closure, but another part that wondered if it was better to let sleeping dogs lie. In the end, I decided to give it time. If they wanted to talk, I'd be open to it. Until then, I would focus on what I could control: my actions and my reactions. The whole ordeal left me with a newfound appreciation for the complexities of human interaction. It taught me that while I can't change how others perceive me, I can strive to be the kind of person who is open, understanding, and willing to learn from difficult situations. And that, I realized, was a step forward in becoming the kind of friend and person I aspired to be. Life continued on, as it always does. New days brought new challenges, but also new opportunities for growth and understanding. And through it all, I held on to the hope that one day I might cross paths with Amy and Sandra again, with the chance to bridge the gap that misunderstanding had created. Until then, I would carry the lessons from this experience with me, using them to guide me through whatever life threw my way next. As the days rolled on, I found myself reflecting on the nature of friendships and the nuanced layers of trust. I realized that every relationship, whether with old friends like Joe or new acquaintances like Amy and Sandra, is bound by the invisible threads of mutual respect and understanding. It dawned on me that despite the awkwardness of the situation, there was a lesson buried beneath the discomfort, a lesson about the importance of patience and empathy, even when faced with unwarranted suspicion. In my quieter moments, I pondered over the concept of safety and how it intertwines with perception. Amy's unease had been palpable, and while I initially struggled to comprehend its depth, I eventually conceded that her feelings were part of a broader narrative that many women navigate daily. It was a disconcerting thought realizing that what seemed like a routine drive to me could have been fraught with anxiety for her. This new perspective challenged me to reconsider how I engaged with others, particularly those who might view the world through a lens tinted by past experiences and societal warnings. The incident also nudged me to scrutinize my own biases. While I had felt unfairly judged, was I not doing the same by assuming Amy's fears were unfounded? In grappling with these questions, I started to understand that the path to genuine empathy often requires peeling back layers of one's own preconceived notions. It's a process as uncomfortable as it is enlightening, pushing the boundaries of personal growth. The fallout from that night slowly dissipated, like a fog lifting to reveal clearer skies. Joe and I resumed our regular hangouts, our friendship fortified by the candid conversations we'd had. It was reassuring to know that despite our differing opinions, we could still find common ground and support each other. Our bond was a testament to the resilience of genuine friendships, capable of weathering storms and emerging stronger on the other side. As for Sandra and Amy, their absence lingered like a faint echo. Despite the initial tension, I hoped that time would soften the edges of our encounter. Perhaps one day we could revisit the situation with a fresh perspective, free from the immediate emotions that had clouded our judgment. Until then, I respected their decision to keep their distance, understanding that sometimes space is the precursor to reconciliation. In the months that followed, my journaling became a cherished ritual. It served as a mirror reflecting my evolving thoughts and emotions, allowing me to track my personal growth over time. Each entry was a step towards understanding not only the world around me, but also the intricacies of my own heart and mind. Through writing, I found solace and clarity, piecing together the complexities of human interaction like a puzzle gradually revealing its complete picture. One evening, as I sat beneath the stars, I realized how much the incident had transformed me. It wasn't just about a car ride or differing perspectives. It was about learning to navigate the unpredictable nature of human relationships. It was about acknowledging that while we might not always agree with each other's actions or beliefs, there's value in striving to understand them. In the end, I came to accept that life's lessons often come disguised in the form of challenges and misunderstandings. They push us to confront our own limitations and grow beyond them. And although the journey is rarely easy, it's the pursuit of understanding and empathy that ultimately enriches our lives. With this newfound wisdom, I faced each day with renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace the complexities of life with an open heart and an open mind. And in doing so, I hope to cultivate deeper connections with those around me, fostering an environment where trust and respect could flourish. This, I realized, was the true essence of what it means to be a friend, and it was a lesson I intended to carry with me for the rest of my life. Don't miss the next story.